So I want to go back to the first Star Wars movie, just that one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're a similar-ish age. What year were you born?
67.
So I was 71 for me.
Yeah.
The
So
very
you are
first,
a youngling. I got you.
a little bit. I don't feel a youngling. I feel like Liam Neeson compared to your Ewan McGregor. The very first Star Wars movie. What are your memories of that whole time period? Because I was 7 when I saw it. Because we didn't get it till 1978 here in the UK. It opened the end of January. You guys got it May 77, so we had to wait ages.
Right. Wow, man. But there wasn't the internet to spoil. You just picked up a sci-fi magazine and were like, wow, man. That was the first PG movie I had gone to see. And everything else had just been Disney fare, whether it was Apple Dumpling Gang or I mean, let's see here. Yeah, because that was before, maybe Star Trek was PG, but I can't remember.
Yeah, Star Trek was
That
70,
was after,
79.
right?
That was a U.
Yeah,
Actually, I think.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't.
But
UK.
I remember thinking, wow, man, this is going to change me somehow. And I still remember vividly, we parked across the street from the movie theater and walked across the street, and it was the whole four of us, the family. And I had this anxiety, like, I've never seen a PG movie, So, and then I remember, this is going back in time a little, almost like the too many tropes in different TV shows. But I remember watching the trailer with my granddad, probably, like 3-4 months before we saw it in the movie theater. And, like the news guy was saying, yeah, this is really weird. They don't know what to think about and stuff. But it was where you saw the stormtroopers and the Millennium Falcon rose and then took off. And so, but like my granddad didn't know what to make of it. He was old. He liked the TV show Beretta and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that was his style. And so I was like, man, this is weird. I don't know what I'm going to see. But once the the music, the 20th Century Fox drums and everything happened, and their fanfare, and then boom, man, we were into Star Wars, and the whole opening credits scrolling and everything was different, man. And so it really changed me. But we got to the end, and it was, I didn't know how to process it at that age. I was just 10. And then I remember the second time I saw it was up in Williamsburg, Virginia with my grandparents, my dad's parents. And he was just, we've got to go see this. So it was just to have that kind of momentum in the movie theater. And then up in Williamsburg instead of Albemarle, at the end, then everybody stood up and started applauding. And I was like, what is going on, man?
Yep.
That was just like a month after I'd seen it locally. But that was the first movie theater where everybody applauded, man. It was
perfect age, weren't you? 10 is the perfect age to have seen it.
Yeah.
I was 7, so I'm a little bit on. I don't have too many memories of seeing the film in the theater. I remember the vague memories, but I remember the after effects of it, where you couldn't. The Star Wars cereal, Star Wars sticker books, the original dozen Star Wars figures started to come out. Right. Star Wars soundtrack albums, official and unofficial ones. Star Wars by the Boston Pops or whatever it was. You're like,
right?
Hell? Yeah. Everywhere was Star Wars. Star Wars posters, Star Wars masks, everything. And then life was never quite the same again, really, was it?
It really wasn't. And when I guess the benefit of them not showing Star Wars until 78 for the UK, at least they had some action figures that you could go and get, because when we bought the pre-order, we had a cardboard cutout. You
had the card, because I've seen those in documentaries. Be like, we owe you a card. And you're like, we owe you a figure. Yeah. You're like, so you just paid for that? What the hell? So that was the thing. Wow. Yeah.
And I remember the action figures themselves, man, they were probably $4 a piece, which back in the day, that was steep. Certainly George Lucas banked it well and kept writing, all that stuff. I'm going to slide out for a second. I'm going to go grab something. The
Okay.
first Star Wars thing that I bought.
Oh, this is where I keep talking again. So those on the video can have a look. While John's not there, you can see his nice little Star Wars collection, including a really cool Scout Walker, I might add. But that's from Jedi, so we're not going to talk about that on this particular episode.
Right.
And
right.
John's back. Wow.
There you go, man. C-3PO mask, and it's latex.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a Don Post, but this predates Don Post, and the thing actually says 77, and I can't read it. I have to put on my glasses, but I think it was that Christmas. We were up in Williamsburg again, because that's where Dad's parents lived, and Williamsburg, Virginia is it's like. There's a historical side like colonial Williamsburg, which I guess is, more like, when we first, bid you guys adieu and we came over here. So, but they had the most magnificent toy store that had little figures to big figures and stuff. And then you go up, like train sets and all that stuff. And then you go up to the second floor and they had masks and magic and stuff. And my first mask, which is falling apart, I had to throw it away. Was a werewolf mask from the original Universal Studios werewolf. And then 3PO was my second mask. And you've got little eye holes and it is an abyss inside. Yes. But my friends would come over and they thought it was so weird that I would put this thing on my head. They were like, you don't know what's in there. Yeah, I do.
Your head.
It's just a mask. Right. But they were just kind of, concerned and afraid. And yeah, man, one of these days, if you want, I'll pull out my original set of Star Wars action figures and we can kind of go through those if that would help your Star Wars channel at all. And yeah, man. But it was, and after the fact, like, I guess maybe 20 years ago, 15, somewhere in there, where, I found out the value of some of these figures. And then too, when I see, like the Jawas going for like 5,000 a piece, and I'm like, wow. And then I go thinking that, Mandela effect or whatever, that I have the ones with the non-cloth capes. No, I've got the first edition cloth capes. And so, and then, like none of my action figures, Obi-Wan, Luke, or Darth Vader, has the extra extension on the lightsaber.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's very nostalgic for me to pull those toys out periodically and just, the original land speeder, the original dewback with the little.
The land speeder. I remember the land speeder.
Yeah. Yep. And 3PO, and of course 3PO and R2D2 didn't really look like the way they did in the movie. Nor did Han or anybody really.
Nor did a lot. The Luke Skywalker one, he had yellow hair, didn't he? Like just yellow hair. There was no blonde. It was like yellow.
Yeah.
But but we used our imagination though, didn't we? We were like, that is Luke Skywalker. That is Darth Vader. That is the Death Squad commander, whatever a Death Squad commander is. But that's the name of the figure. Go figure. It's just got a weird name, but
right. And then when Empire came out, and you've got, now they can plan ahead. Now you've got a larger host of action figures and stuff. And I don't, like with my kids, my older kids, they wanted, they grew up with the prequels. So that was their big screen Star Wars. And it was interesting, like I still have the communicator, which was probably 3 times bigger than it was, in Phantom Menace. But you would hold the little cards up to it, the little things or whatever, and it would do the voice of these different characters. And Emily so loved Princess Leia's line from New Hope, get this walking carpet out of my way. And so she would just sit there and play it over and over and over again. But that was still cool for me because that proved that Star Wars was going to continue to inspire kids and stuff. And so Yeah, man. And it's I know I've shown you my collection of DL-44s, which is, the blaster that Han had originally, and then Luke had one, and became kind of ordinary. But yeah, man. And originally, I was like, man, if I can just get one of those, and then I was like, man, if I could just get one per movie, and then I've got a collection of everything that was screen used.
Yeah.
No, that's not the case at all. So yeah, so like 8 guns later, I mean, supposedly I have everything that was used. But you're right, man. We used our imagination.
Yeah.
Did you make a lightsaber when you were young?
I used to swirl like a broom handle around and pretend it was a lightsaber. So I was sort of real
Yeah,
low key
yeah,
for stuff like that. But I just became obsessed with Star Wars. Part of it
yeah.
was probably escapism, going, I'm Luke Skywalker. I want to go away and do
Right.
something because my home life sucks.
Ah,
Go on, Luke
right,
Skywalker. So
right,
I just
man.
became but obviously a lot of the obsession was because everything was Star Wars around. It was
Yeah,
cereals, biscuits,
yeah,
music was everywhere, and the
yeah.
posters, and just it was. I think I was trying to think of something else that was probably as big, maybe ET for merchandise, because everything was ET. But even that
Yeah,
doesn't even touch the surface of how much Star Wars stuff there was
yeah,
at that
yeah.
time.
Tons, man. Lightsaber that I made was I don't know if you're familiar with golf tubes, but it's like if you have a set of golf clubs, you
Yeah.
put these tubes in and they're like semi-opaque. And so I would I can't remember where I found this, like it wasn't vellum, but it was something that my mom had that you could shine a light through and it would be blue, right? And so what did I do? I cut it out and I put it over the flashlight and then used duct tape to attach the golf tube. And then I think my sister had like a little plastic mirror or something. And so I cut that up and taped it to the end so that the light would hit that mirror and kind of bounce back and illuminate a little more evenly. And then I would just run around outside in the evening. As soon as it would get dark, man, I'd turn on my lightsaber. And I guess it was kind of, wasn't it Ewan McGregor who said that when he like it was tough for him not to make the lightsaber sounds,
Yoing, yoing,
Yeah.
yoing. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, I mean, like I grew up with that. And then I think that I don't think it was an official Han Solo gun. I think it was just a broom handled Mauser. But again, my imagination, man, and that was Han Solo's gun. I don't know if I taped some stuff to it or tried to make it look more like Han Solo's blaster. But you answered one of my questions. Who did you identify with? So it was Luke.
I think it was Luke for me. I think
Yeah.
more so when Luke was in Jedi. I think in the whole black robe, and I'm like, he's cool now. In the
Yeah.
first Star Wars, he's not really that cool, is he? You're like, oh god, you're annoying. So you kind of resonate more with Solo, and you go, or
Oh
Vader,
yeah,
maybe it
man.
depends on
Yeah.
your personality, but
Yeah. Yeah.
with him. But
Yeah.
as the series progressed, I'm like, I kind of like Luke more. And have you ever
Yeah.
tried to use the Force? I have. I've tried to.
Oh yeah, man.
You know,
And let me tell
I'm
you,
trying it now. It's not working. Damn it.
there's periodically Michelle will humor me because I'll be like,
Oh,
reaching
it's
out
working.
for that remote, and
It's
then
working.
she'll raise it up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it does work.
It does work.
So other than people humoring me, no, the force just, wow, what is it from Rogue One? I'm one with the force is one with me, or whatever that dude said as he
Yeah.
was blindly going into fire, man. That was the relationship between he and that dude who had the gun, and they were just, that best buddies kind of thing, man. Everybody in Rogue One. But anyway, going back to Star Wars though, um, I was trying to think. I never collected the big 12-inch figures. There
No.
was a friend of mine who has a few of those, and the original the first Darth Vader helmet that they came out with. I was trying to think what else. But I mean, it was when I was I guess it was in 7th grade. My girlfriend had a little brother who was also into Star Wars, and she kind of looked like Princess Leia, which may have been why we
Hmm.
started seeing each other. But anyway, when I go over to see her, her brother would get on my back and I make tauntaun sounds and just run around. And so he still reminds me of that. So yeah, man, I don't think anything was as huge as Star Wars. I don't think anyone around the globe was ready for that phenomenon.
No, I mean that's the sort of big movie wise. You'd had Jaws, but
Right.
there wasn't a ton of Jaws merchandise. If I remember rightly enough, that was a very different film to
Yeah.
Star Wars. But when Star Wars came out, it was
Yeah.
everywhere. The
Yeah.
merchandise, every time. Star Wars bubble bath. I remember that. You pull the head up,
Oh,
top that
yeah,
up. Remember
man.
Darth Vader things. I wish I still had all of those
Yeah.
now. What was really
Yeah.
nice about Star Wars though in '78 and '79 and stuff, there's nothing to compare it to. Nowadays, people are like, that's not canon, that's characters. There was nothing.
Right.
We just, as kids, we went
Right.
in, we're like, oh, look, he lives on a planet with his two sons. That was it.
Right.
You didn't go, well, let me just think on the two sons. Does that make sense? I
Right.
don't think that song would make sense. There was
Yeah.
none of that. You know, Vader, bad guy. Right. Okay. I don't know why he's bad, but he's wearing black and he's got all these stormtroopers. Therefore, he's a
Probably
villain. Run.
Probably
Which
because he has asthma. I mean, he's frustrated.
possibly. So there was all that. There was
Yeah.
nothing to. There was no canon as such.
Right.
And then obviously the holiday special came
Right.
out, which thankfully we never got over here, but never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Dude,
how many
if I had known we were going on to a Star Wars tangent, I found a cell from the Ewoks animated TV show. I think it was back in '88. I can't
mid
remember.
80s, yeah.
I mean, like, I didn't even recognize what it was. And so a
Wow.
buddy of mine who used to work for Disney, and he has given me some different cells and stuff, some of projects that he's worked on. I sent him that, and his reply was, "What the hell is that?" So I did a Google image search, and it located, and led me to some website where this one lady, oh, what's her name? Anyway, she's a huge fan of Star Wars and has hundreds of these cells, man. And this is hand painted, used in the animated series.
Wow.
And so, yeah, man. So, and I was trying to get up with her just because I will mail her this. I mean, like, it's cool, but I mean, she's got a collection, man. This is just another thing, but I have no idea where it came from. I don't know, man.
85, 87. I'm slowly becoming a Star Wars expert with just doing little bits
Right?
I'm certainly not a Star Wars expert. I know there's a lot of people who know way more than I do, but I do know
Right.
that the Ewoks was 2 seasons and 85, 86, I
Wow.
believe. They obviously got 2 movies
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I was obsessed with Star Wars. I don't know if I'm still obsessed with Star. I really like it, but there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that I've not seen yet, and I'm planning on getting around to watching it. But there's a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff that aren't Star Wars that we tried to catch up on.
They almost marvelized it. You know what I mean? As far as like,
Yeah.
I sure would like to see I don't know, something that came in the middle of the whole, between Iron Man and Endgame.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, even, my stepkids, where I was like, you should watch this. This is really good. Didn't watch the rest of it. I'm gonna skip it. But I mean,
Yeah.
at least Star Wars makes it a little easier. Then you've got the Star Wars stories added in, which is kind of cool. Um, but anyway, but yeah, man, it's amazing that, I mean, with I think where I was sitting, one of the last 2 podcasts that we did, the Darth Vader helmet is from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which
Yeah.
it just reminded me so much of the original Darth Vader mask. There's little things that are different about it, but I mean, the red lenses, there's just a lot, man. But you go online, and you were talking about, you're not an expert, but yet you are, gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
And some of these people that can tell you, this is what, helps them identify Vader from each movie. And because they modified different things on the helmet and the vent
And the
and
breastplate and stuff,
different.
didn't they?
Yeah. And evidently C-3PO is the same, because I would still like to have a C-3PO, just, like a helmet, and have it electroplated gold, and just, because C-3PO, I think Han Solo was my number 1 favorite character, but then 3PO was fun too. But But yeah, just to have that, I think that would be, a nice addition to it all. But with collectibles, there's one of the stormtrooper masks that I have is from the mold of the original New Hope. I mean, like
Wow.
the first Star Wars. So, and
Yeah.
it's interesting how, I don't think, I mean, like the DL-44s, they weren't thinking it was going to be a big deal. And so they had rented all, gone through an armory, rented all these things, glued all this stuff on there to make them look cool. And then they left them behind, man, over in England and came
Yeah.
back. And then it's like, wait a minute, we still have to shoot the cantina scene. So, it's cool that they had a different gun for that. And that, in talking to the guy where I get a lot of my Star Wars blasters from, I mean, like he was going through, because I interviewed him on the podcast that I have yet to publish, but he is such a knowledge bank about all the weapons in Star Wars. And when Han Solo's blaster was sold, for like, I don't know, what was it, $1 million, something like that.
You paid $1 million
Supposedly
for
the
it, John?
original. Oh no, not even close. But but the but when it sold, he zoomed in and looked at the serial number and he said that is not the original. And so
Oh my
that's
God.
evidently still out there. Yeah, man. But can you imagine? It's like, yeah, this is the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not. How much you pay for that? Too much.
Oh no.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, it's interesting how everybody has a focus. You think about the R2D2 builders that are out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and that's another thing. I've always wanted to have a full size R2D2.
Yeah.
And not that I have room for it, but I've always guess I could always put it up there in the living room, which is, it's funny. This is my domain, and then the living room is Michelle's. With
You have it
classic artwork.
So
and
you
stuff.
lift R2's head off and there's drinks in it.
Oh, there, I like that.
So that would work. Pass me a vodka. And come. I've met a few R2D2s. I met one in San Diego Comic-Con, which I managed to video and he beeped and said hello. I met a steampunk R2D2 in Wales a few years ago, which I also videoed and had a conversation with. And I was stood about 10 feet away from Kenny Baker a few years ago whilst I was talking to Michael Bean. So in the Experience of Comic-Con thing, you see Kenny Baker in the background while kind of ignoring him. He's not speaking to me, to be fair, whilst I'm talking to Michael Bean about the Abyss. So I've met some R2D2s, seen some R2D2s.
Yeah, but they are cool. And I mean, you think about all that Lucas had to do to make R2D2 animated in New Hope, and like the center leg that would come out, but it wasn't there all the time. And you did have Mr. Baker inside R2D2, and man, I mean, like now with electronics, you can have your own R2D2 that does everything and lights up and sounds amazing. And then you're going to have somebody say, well, but that's not really the way the lights were. They were made from this and that and everything. But you know what? I mean, like that's an amazing R2D2 fan to know that much.
It is. I wouldn't know that much.
Yeah. No, man. I'm just like, dude, I'm having a fan moment with R2D2.
Well, it's like people.
It's not the real one, right?
Like you've mentioned with the Vader and the 3PO, I go, well, this is the different ones through the movies. I'm like, they changed. Were they different? Maybe I remember the red lenses being a little bit different. They weren't there in Empire of Jedi, but beyond that, there was a difference. Oh, yes, this light was different. Now I'm like, I didn't even notice. I was too busy just suspending my disbelief and just thinking, I want an X-Wing.
Yeah, that I really wanted the Falcon. And that way, I could fly around. I could make some spare money, hauling stuff around.
Play chess.
And then, yeah. There was, what was it? There was something that we were watching not too long ago that was Star Wars, but they had the chess thing, but they had like little action figures out instead of it being holographic. Okay. And it was just odd because I'm like, if they could pull it off back in '77, that they could pull it off now. So
I've been going through a lot of my hard drives, just mining content for Star Wars, and some of the stuff I found. It's an audio recording of a Q&A panel I hosted in
Yeah.
2017 or 2018, where the guy who played Bosk was on it, the guy who played Greedo. It's a whole bunch of Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
It's me just interviewing, and I'm like, that was never filmed, but I turned it into a video and stuck it on his YouTube channel. And there's another one where I'm sitting down, and it was a one-to-one Q&A on a stage with the guy who designed the original Vader helmet, Brian Muir. And it was like, there was supposed to be 3 of us on this panel, and then one person backed out. So I'm like, I'm just going to sit on stage with this guy, just have a conversation. And it was one of the most interesting things that I've ever done. It was just because the guy's career was insane. And we just sat there and we chatted for 45 minutes, and now and again I let the audience chuck in a question. But I'm like, I'm here for me. It was really, really good. So I'm converting all these into video and then sticking them on the YouTube. People are watching them, so it's quite...
Yeah, man. Well, it's historical at this point. You know, it's a part of our history. When you think about how long ago that was, and still, I mean, like to this day, if I hear the opening credit theme song, man, I'm taken back in time.
You're like, oh, is this Star Wars or Superman? Which one? Oh, yeah, no, it's Superman. Never mind. They do sound very similar.
Which sidebar, there is a new documentary on Christopher Reeve, which looks really good. Yeah,
I really want to watch that. So that's good. But I just wanted to take a trip back to a time before there was canon, because a lot of people nowadays, I suspect a lot of Star Wars fans nowadays weren't even around when the first one. I may be wrong. I'm sweepingly generalizing them, but you kind of get the impression. It's just like, go back to when it was first there and the magic was there, and you go into the theater going, what is this Star Wars thing? Don't even know. And then the Star Destroyer goes over and you're like, I'm in. And then for 2 hours, just short of 2 hours, you're hooked. You're like, I don't know what C-3PO, I don't know how long a battery lasts. Why can't Stormtroopers shoot straight? Who knows? I don't know. But he didn't care because it was fun. And then we became obsessed with spending our pocket money on Star Wars cereal and bubble bath. Everything.
All the things that we probably should have kept, you know what I mean, that would probably be valuable, but yet, dude, it was a box that held cereal. I do have, like, there were bathroom cups that are little, I can't remember who made them, but you know, I mean, they're paper and they're coated in wax so that they will hold water. And for whatever reason, it got put on the shelf, and I found it probably a decade ago at my parents' house, and I'm like, what is this? It's still in great condition, you know? But I mean, all these different cups. So I mean, I put it back. I'll you know, find that again. But yeah, man. I mean, like, I think the world was Star Wars crazy, and I'm glad that afforded Lucas to finish telling the trilogy. And I mean, and I enjoyed the prequels too. I mean, you know, back in the day, I didn't like them as much. But I mean, like, you know, it was just, it wasn't the original, but it was still good. It was fine. And there was some discussion on YouTube where the question was asked, you know, why was, you know, the prequels, why were they panned? Why were they so heavily criticized when really they're not bad? I mean, you know.
Why do you think? Why do you think they were panned? I think I have my suspicion, which I'll say mine after you've said
I think it was just the original, the people like you and I who saw Star Wars originally and then saw Empire and then saw Jedi. It didn't matter that, you know, at the end of Jedi, it was kind of goofy with the Ewoks and the Yuk song and the zippers in the back of their costume. You know, Jar Jar was abrasive, but yet he was just another character. He was fun. And then, you know, he was abrasive in Phantom Menace. And then in the second one, what was it, Clone War?
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I remember it had something to do with clones. It was 3PO who was just a complete dick. Just, you know, and then of course everybody was waiting on the darkness that would be Darth Vader's rise in you know, in the whatever the third one was. So but yeah, I think it was just different. I think it's kind of like you're used to your this one restaurant making lasagna, and that's your favorite lasagna. And then you taste somebody else's that's actually from Italy, and you're like, wow, man, this is really good. It's different. I don't know how to, to really think about it. What's your spin on?
I think there's two. I think one of them we already knew the story, so as soon as we saw Anakin, we're like, well, he becomes Vader,
right?
So we knew inevitably where it was going to go. So that removes. Whereas when we watch Star Wars Empire Jedi, we're like, I don't really know. We'll touch upon Empire next time, but I remember the whole Luke, I'm your dad. For 3 years between Empire and Jedi, I'm like, that can't be right. Why have you not done your homework? I'm a bit concerned about why's Vader lying to Luke? What? And we didn't know what was going on. Prequels, we did. We're like, okay, there's Anakin. Well, pretty sure Qui-Gon doesn't make it because he's not in the other ones, and so it's that. And also go back to when we saw Star Wars Empire and Jedi in the theaters. Those movies changed our life to a certain extent.
They really did.
We were in 99 and the 2000s. We were older then, so movies generally didn't change our lives when we're in our 20s or whatever. They did. So we've lost that, I think, and we see that again with Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. They're not. One of them's a good film. The other two are like hit and miss. But again, they didn't change our lives. So I think people are trying to get back the same feel. Same with the Indiana Jones films. People are like, these last two were terrible. Well, they weren't. But when we saw Raiders, we were like 11, 12, 13, whatever age we were. And they changed our life back then. So I think we've forgotten how to be children in our heads.
I agree. And I think too, with the sequels, Star Wars wise, as well as Indiana Jones, I think, to attract the new fans, the young fans, they had to add that extra flavor in that is today's movies, which is, let's just be frenetic with the cuts. Let's just, it's a roller coaster. It'll feel like a theme ride at Disney. Oh, it will be, but I think that's, I think too, it's kind of like, and I've never done cocaine, but from what I understand from my friends who have,
you've seen Scarface.
You really, but it's like they really have not. I mean, like, they try cocaine. It's the most amazing thing. And then the next time it's less than. And I think that's another problem we have is that when we were kids and we saw Star Wars, the original trilogy, it was every 3 years. We couldn't wait. And it was new and there was no competition. And then, when the prequels came out, we were looking for that same high and it didn't quite tap it. We didn't quite get that. And then when the sequels came out, and I think again, we were like, yes, Star Wars, the opening credits, and our hopes were high, and it just kind of got smashed.
Force Awakens, I was in for. I remember seeing Force Awakens, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the Falcon! I was as giddy as I was when in '78 when I first saw Star Wars. Last Jedi, I'm like, it's kind of cool, but it's a bit disjointed. And then because we become polluted with the off-screen, they've changed the director, they're doing this, but I don't want to know any of that. I want to be the kid that goes into Star Wars in '78 going, I don't even know what I'm about to see. Please be good. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts. But I wanted to take a revisit back to the early times and just sort of reignite some magic or whatever. I think your dog wants to go out, I suspect, or it's choked on a blanket, one of the two.
Michelle, no, I removed that, which we won't talk about that again. It's kind of like Bruno. We won't be talking about that blanket when Michelle comes in because she'll wash it immediately. Dog spit, man. But no, it's Michelle came in and set something down on the table and then it hit the floor. So now Lily is on high alert. So but yeah, man, I enjoy hanging out with you anyway. But man, talking Star Wars. Any aspect of my collection that you would like to see more of and we discuss and stuff, man, I'd be glad to pull it out. I mean, like some of it is in boxes, but
next time we're going to do this little segment on Empire. So maybe bring along something Empire related, and then the following one we'll do something about Jedi and whatnot. We'll do the classic trilogy.
Okay, that sounds awesome, man. I look forward to it.
Fantastic. What have you got planned for the rest of your day? Anything exciting or?
I don't know. Maybe we'll watch Ordinary Angels with dinner. I'm not
Really
sure.
good.
So.
Just short of 2 hours. It's like an hour and 55. So it's
that's not bad,
good.
man. Yeah.
Good.
So, but that is definitely at least sometime this week, if not tonight. So,
yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah, man, just dinner and visiting with Michelle, seeing how her day was and how her commute was and stuff. So yeah, man. What about you?
Not much. It's 20 to 11 UK time.
Yeah, man.
So I'm going to wind down for 20 minutes and then probably go to sleep about 11:30 or whatever. And then I'm up out and off down to a doctor's appointment tomorrow so they could take my blood. Amazing.
Don't you wish it was as easy as in episode 1 where Qui-Gon says, "Oh, hey, let me see your arm," and then he's like, "Oh, metachlorians." I mean, like, it was instant data in the little device. So,
I'm hoping to go down tomorrow and they go, actually, your results have come back, or maybe like a couple of days, and I do have metachlorians.
Yeah.
That is possible. Cool. I shall let you know. It'd be really good for the Star Wars YouTube channel. So there is that.
Would.
Yeah.
Yes, it would, man.
All right. Well, thank you for indulging me in a little Star Wars chat as well.
Oh yeah, man. My pleasure. And man, look forward to the next time.
Definitely. All right.
All right.
Take care, John.
Man.
Bye.
Bye.